Dr. Julie Webb of LitCentric.com. Welcome to writing. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to start a writer's notebook and the importance of that to each and every writer. Now, a writer's notebook can take different shapes and have maybe some different tools with it, and we'll talk about some of those today. But it's extremely critical that our students have a home base to keep their writing pieces in. And like I said, there's lots of ways to do that. So there's three things, though, to keep in mind when it comes to establishing a writer's notebook. You need to make sure that it's functional, it's developmental, and it's personal. So let's start about how we can use a functional writer's notebook. Now, a writer's notebook could be actually a real notebook. In this case, this is a composition book. And there's some great things about a composition book is they're nice and sturdy, they come with lots of pages in them, and the pages don't fall out like they would in a regular notebook. So that means that the student really can keep their pieces securely in here, really for the entire school year, or at least a long period of time. And it becomes a great resource tool because you can easily glue different tools and things on the inside, on the outside, and lots of different pages and organize it in a lot of ways. There's a lot of space to keep some good writing in here. Other teachers and students might prefer actually just a writing folder, where in the folder you can easily add extra paper and you have pockets to keep some of the tools so that students can pull the tools out and set them on the table side by side with the writing that they're doing, which makes it easier for them to manage and actually use those reference tools. And oftentimes I think about younger students doing particularly well with a resource like this, and often students in the upper elementary grades doing really well with a tool like this. But that gets into our next phase and to think about the developmental aspects of a writer's notebook. Now, something that I think is really critical besides how they use the tool is actually how the tool is built. And in this case, think about a composition book and all those very tiny lines that students are writing on. This composition book is a college ruled, which is actually the most narrow lines. Then there's the wide rule, as we know, is a little bit wider than that. But for a really young student, a kindergartner, a first grader who's still learning to actually do letter formation, and oftentimes we know their letters can be a little bit oversized, this can be challenging to write on paper like this. So you may decide to get a special composition book that has some of those primary style writing lines, and you may really like that. Or you may choose to maybe even create some paper on your own. Now in this writing folder, some kindergarten teachers or teachers of emergent writers as they're starting to learn to write like to use just blank paper because you can really focus students word by word. You're not so bogged down by the handwriting side of things, and you're really focusing more on composition and actually the phonetic and spelling pieces of writing. But students can actually graduate to a different style of paper. In this paper, I just created on my computer. We've got the name and date at the top, we've got a space to draw a picture, and we've just got some bigger, wider space lines for students to write on. This is a piece of paper, this style, students can use really all year in the primary grades in particular, and it really supports the idea of drawing pictures to go with your pieces because we know that drawing pictures before, during, and even after writing supports story development, supports idea development, and actually those pictures can be used as a tool for better writing. We'll talk about that more in a later video. Another style of writing paper you might choose to use is just straight up lines. Now these are just like the lines on the previous page. Now we've just got no picture. So this style can actually be great for students who don't maybe need the picture support quite so much, or when you want the picture time to happen separate from the writing piece. Also, you might choose to actually use paper like this on the back of the other side of paper so that students can continue to write on the back and you won't need quite so much paper in their folder later on. The final thing to think about with a writer's notebook is choice. So anytime you can give students choice in the style of notebook, in the paper, really differentiating for them, not just on their personal preference necessarily, but also what you notice that they really need to do their best writing work. Think about how choice can become part of your writing climate, as well as a way to actually support students as they develop as writers. Having a really great writer's notebook helps students develop the habits necessary to be great writers. So give it a try with the students in your writing class and have a great day at school.